All right, Solomon. So, first off, I want to say thank you. I think you're doing a great job with how quickly you caught on to making offers and managing these offers. You really know how to work the process through and through at this point. At this point, though, I do want to start talking to you about time management. So, I can see that you're putting in quite a few hours the last couple of weeks, and I have been asking you to do a lot. I give you that. And I've been pouring a lot of training on you, and I've been having you study one of our competitors, and I've also had you trying to learn how to manage the email system. But we're going to dial that back now. I want to get you back to just downloading properties for the day, determine the ARVs, and sending the offers. I'm gonna start now that I'm back to work. I shouldn't be taking a vacation for quite some time. So I want to get back to really monitoring the emails. And it's really something I need to be staying on top of anyways. I definitely want you to know how to do it. So in my absence, you can keep the business running. Um, that is important. But for the most part, I need to be engaged with every email every day when I can be. So, like I said, I'm not going to take a vacation for a while, so I want to get back to that. So, what I want to get you back to focus is just doing the downloading the properties each day, determining ARVs, and send those out. Now, I want to talk about your time. So, I've done this for 15 years. I've trained many assistants to do this, so I have a pretty good feel for how many hours this typically takes once somebody really gets this down. And you should be somewhere with the amount of offers you're making. And I think you're making, we'll talk about this in a minute, I think you're making offers on properties you don't necessarily need to be, but I'll take a closer look at that. So for what I, but for now, you should be, putting in somewhere between, 4 hours a day on average. Some days you're like 3 hours, some five. Maybe you'll have a 6 hour day. Um, but that's kind of where you'll normally be with this offer making system. Now that's not to say that I can't ramp you up to doing 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I do have other plans once you really get this comfortable with this of adding additional tasks to your plate. I'm just taking it one step at a time. One of those things would be looking at having you start to run FreedomSoft, which is another program of us going out and texting people to see to if they want to sell their house, and if they are interested, then you know how to run numbers on those houses and to give them a fair offer and or an offer that we're willing to pay. Anyways, they might not always think it's fair, but it's fair to us. But that is also a lot of offers to very little properties that we actually put under contract. But that's the name of our game. It's what we do. We only need to find 2 or 3 houses a month to really do well at this gig. So and we'll get there. I have all the confidence in the world to get there. But FreedomSoft's another one that I'm gonna have you eventually do. Also, I'm thinking about. I'm still working with this other guy to do attached units. I'm gonna train you as well on this, just so you get familiar with it. But I do think that there's going to be enough work for the both of you for doing this. But I'm thinking about having you train on attached. And then a couple other things that we'll be doing that will help us find properties is doing email blasts out to agents. And then as incoming emails come in, you're checking on the properties that they're willing to give us off market and seeing if we're willing to offer what they need. And so there's a whole bunch of different avenues to take on this. But the beginning of this is learning how to do those ARVs, which you really got a good grasp of, and managing this effectively. So, which you're really getting there. So I just want to make sure we get your hours dialed into what you're doing. So I want to talk about this for a second. So it looks like you're making, most of the time you're making between 10 to 15 offers a day. I saw on the 11th you made like 25 offers. And I'm wondering either that was a very busy day and there was a lot of junky houses on the market, or you're making a lot of offers on properties that maybe are just are still kind of nice that maybe we shouldn't be making offers on. I'm going to look into that a little closer and just see. But that's quite a bit of offers for one day. We're usually around that 10 to 15 15 offers a day. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and that's just from the 0 to 400 to 400 to 550, somewhere around 10 to 15 offers a day is what we're typically making. So, the next thing I want to talk about is to make sure you're managing your time correctly is when you're making an offer on a property, generally speaking, if I'm spending more than 5 minutes on determining an ARV on a property, I've spent too much time on this property already. If I'm spending that much time on it, it's usually a property that's really difficult to determine an ARV on. I'm trying to look too hard into it. And so if you find yourself spending more than 5 minutes on a property, sometimes I'll just back out. I'll look at the lowest sold in the neighborhood, make an offer on the lowest sold within that square footage range, and just move on because it's just becoming too cumbersome. So I can talk a little bit more about that. I can actually do a few of those for you on the MLS, but I do that all the time. If I'm spending more than 5 minutes on a property, the ARV is just being too difficult, and I just jump to the lowest solds in the neighborhood for that square footage range and just make an offer based on the lowest solds. So I can talk a little bit about that later. I don't want to keep on beating the dead horse. So if you're spending around 5 minutes per property, let's say even 10. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's say let's say you're making 15 offers a day on average, and let's say you're even doing 10 minutes a day on those. That's an hour and a half or 2.5 hours that you're making ARVs, and then you're spending usually an hour downloading those properties, and then maybe another hour making those offers, somewhere around there. So that's kind of where your 4 hours come in. But really, if you're 5 minutes into a property, you're probably an hour and a half worth of determining the ARVs. And you're spending an hour downloading those properties, picking those out, and you're spending another hour sending out those offers. So that's how I really come up with that 4 hours. Like I said, I've done this for a very long time. I've trained several assistants on doing this. And yes, it takes a little time getting you ramped up. I totally expected to be paying you more for all the training I'm throwing at you. And this is the time where I want to start talking to you about time management and make sure we get your time dialed in correctly to the offers you're making. Once we have that dialed in, I can start to really put more on your plate as far as additional training and additional offer making, so you're getting more offers out, because that's the name of this game, is that you're getting 75 or 100 offers out a week to really find that one property that we're selling each week, and you're getting those bonuses. So I want you to be patient with those bonuses. They will come. We will get these properties. Kind of start off a little bumpy to be taking a vacation right in the middle of your training, but I'm here, so we should be able to really get this thing ramped up. So I'm going to send you this video. I just want to talk about time management so you really get the grasp of it. The hours that you're putting in right now just a little high, but I think it's because of all the stuff I've been throwing at you. So for now, I want you to get focused on pulling properties, determining ARVs, making offers, and getting those hours to do that in the correct time frame of what it normally takes to do that, which is kind of in that 30 hours a week range. And then once we get there, we got that all figured out, and then I'm going to start adding a couple other lead sources to your plate, so that if you want more hours, I'll give you more hours. But I want to make sure you're putting out the appropriate amount of offers for the hours you're working, because that's what's really going to get us both the amount of properties for me to sell and for you to be collecting bonuses on that we want. So hopefully all that makes sense. But to end this, I do want to say this is not something that I'm concerned about. The hours you logged, I trust they are the correct hours. There's no doubt that you are working hard at this and you're doing a great job at it. So I just want to reiterate that you are doing a really good job. But this is kind of the next step. Let's get these hours dialed in. And so I can start adding some different other lead sources to your plate to help you get more offers out so we can get more properties under contract. So I'm going to get this video over to you. Hopefully all this makes sense, and we'll keep cranking away.